I know for me, it was weird this year. We didn't have as many people or family around as we normally do. And I expect that that's probably the case with a lot of other people as well. It's been an interesting year. I'll say that that's definitely been the case. But hopefully you were able to spend some time with family, spend some time relaxing, taking some time to have some self-care and some rest and get back onto the horse as we finish out 2020 and make room for 2021. So I wanted to come on here today because the IRS in the last week or two has dropped a couple of or one really big, I kind of consider it a bomb as far as PPP. So if you received PPP funding, you received a PPP loan sometime between April through, I think, August, go ahead and drop an emoji down because I know a lot of businesses did, some didn't, and that was totally okay as well. They're still expecting to possible another round of PPP to be released at some point, but the IRS gave some clarification as to how the funding for PPP was going to work for the 2020 tax year. And so now we're getting to the end of the year, and I know I've been really busy. We've been doing several tax plans with a number of our clients and kind of getting more into that field house, which I'm really excited about too. Can I just say that in those 4 clients, we have an estimated savings of almost $40,000 for our clients, and I'm so excited to be able to offer this as a new service for Sidekick Accounting, which is my other business. But with your accounting Sidekick as well, we've been, kind of putting that together as far as our tax prep challenge goes. So that's going to be 5 days of a tax prep challenge. But I wanted to talk to you about what the ramifications were for what the guidance put out by the IRS means for you and your taxes for this year. So originally it was stated that the PPP funds were not going to be considered income, and that still is holding true. So they're not considering it income, but what they are doing is then telling people that they cannot use those expenses. So whatever you use those PPP funds for, whether it was payroll or rent or utilities, those qualified expenses you cannot use as deductible expenses on your 2020 taxes. So essentially, that basically means is that you have to count your PPP funds as income. And so that's not how it's going to show up on your taxes. It's going to kind of be reversed, but that's basically what it is. Just to make it simple, your PPP funds have to be considered as income, basically, or you have to exclude those expenses from your 2020 taxes. So what does that mean for you as a business owner if you got PPP funds? Basically what that means, and they sent out further guidance, which basically said, look, even if you didn't get it forgiven in 2020, but you're expecting it to get forgiven in 2020, you're expecting to go for forgiveness, you have to do this in the 2020 tax year. And so this is the part that I'm really not very thrilled about, because to me, that's an unexpected tax burden for a lot of small business owners. And let's face it, this year has been hard enough already. If you got these PPP funds and you expect to get them forgiven, which reasonably, if you're under 50,000, they basically have blanket forgiveness, a big blanket forgiveness application for that. So most likely, if you're under 50,000, you're going to be forgiven, most definitely. If it's above $50,000, but you use those funds for payroll and you have the 24-week period to be able to use that. If you use those PPP funds for rent and payroll expenses, most likely it's going to get forgiven as well. So what does that mean to you? Basically, it means whatever your PPP funds were is taxable income for this year, or you have to exclude those expenses. And so what that means is that if you had, say, a $20,000 PPP funding, you're going to be paying at least an additional $3,000 in taxes on that $20,000. And so that can be a huge impact to small businesses, right? If you weren't expecting to have this tax liability. And so this is one of the reasons why we're kind of putting together this Tax Prep Ready challenge for the year 2020. So we're doing that in 2 weeks in December 14th, to help people estimate what their tax liability is going to be, see if we can put some year-end strategies into place. If you typically owe a lot of money and if your revenue was fairly decent this year, please give me a call, because we might be able to put together an actual exhaustive, comprehensive tax plan for you, where it can help save you money, not just this year, but year over year going forward. So let me know about that as well. But just kind of be aware that if you have PPP funding, you're going to have to pay taxes on that this year, even if it's not officially forgiven. If you're expected to have it forgiven, you can. And so like, this is a kind of a big whammy for small businesses, because if you weren't expecting it to, or what I was kind of expecting it was that they were going to change it to where it was going to be income, and then whatever year that it was taxable, it was going to be counted as income in the year it was forgiven, which to me makes a little bit more sense, but that's not the way the IRS is going. And I think it's because they decided not to say it was income. They're doing it reverse wise. So now in 2020, you can't include those expenses as part of your expenses for your business. You can't count those expenses. If you used it for people with PPP funds, you can't count them as expenses. So long story short, I'm a little bit perturbed about it, but that's what the guidance has come out. I don't think there's going to be any changes to it. At least that's not what it seems like. And typically November, December is kind of where they issue the remaining tax guidelines for the 2020, or for whatever the next year is. So for the 2020 tax season, which is this year, we have through December 31st to really make some big tax changes, tax impacting changes before the year closes. But going forward into 2021, there's some additional things that could be done. But just to kind of remember, for this year, if you're expecting to get forgiven, even if you haven't officially been forgiven yet, you have to exclude those expenses in this coming tax year. So that's going to impact your taxes. We've talked about this before in the Your Accounting Sidekick group, but typically if you are Schedule C or sole prop or a single member LLC, you will be paying a self-employment tax on your net income. So if you had your expenses, you had $40,000 worth of payroll expenses, but you got $20,000 from PPP, that's a bad estimate, but let's just go with it. That means you can only count $20,000 worth of those payroll expenses, not the whole $40,000. So when you're putting together what your estimate might be, you have to factor in that difference for this coming tax year. So like I said, we have the 5-day tax prep ready challenge coming up, where we will address some of these things and estimate what your liability is most likely going to be, so you can put together a plan for payment or what have you, and some other tax planning strategies to help save you money this year and going forward. So if you want to sign up for that, it's going to be a really great event. It's going to be really helpful to a lot of people. If you owe a lot typically, or you had a really good profitable year, contact me directly so we can talk about whether or not an actual exhaustive tax plan would be more to your benefit. And if you got PPP funding, drop your emoji down. I know a lot of companies did, especially if you had employees, which is great. It's just, this is an unexpected impact to your taxes for this year. And that's the thing that I wanted to address and talk about and help with. So if you're concerned about it, please let me know. I'm here to help. If you have questions, please drop them down. Your questions might help another person as well. We're all kind of sitting in the same boat. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will talk to you again soon. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you at the 5-day challenge in a couple weeks. And yeah, have a great rest of your end of November day. And remember to put together some plans and some strategies and some thought into 2021. This year has been crazy. It's been impactful in many different ways. People have thrived, people have not thrived, people have been challenged at home, personally, at business. It's been a year, but we're all kind of sitting in that same boat. So if you're sitting in that boat, remember the biggest thing with small business, with your business, is pushing through. It's pushing through to that next phase, that next season. And it's we're still moving, right? We're still breathing. As long as we're still moving forward, things can always improve. So just be aware, though, that PPP is going to affect you for the 2020 tax year, most likely. Most small businesses I know are going to be expected to get it forgiven. So it will probably affect you, especially if you're 50,000 or under. It definitely will affect you. So just kind of be aware of that. Make sure that you're taking the time to kind of look at how that's going to impact you for the tax season so that you're not blindsided by the impact that that's going to have. Remember to, even if you do owe taxes, that is something that you can create a payment plan for and kind of spread out. The IRS is a lot kinder about that than, say, the states sometimes are a little bit more aggressive. But if you know ahead of time, it will at least help prepare you. Taxes, the tax payments are due when taxes are due. So I'm thinking it could be April 15th, like normal this year, but it could end up being something like July 15th, like it was this year. I'm not sure. I think some of that kind of depends on what the administrative changes are going to be as well for the tax time, but just kind of be aware. And hopefully this is helpful, and I will talk to you soon. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.